Welcome to the You on the Camino de Santiago podcast. This podcast is for and about first-time pilgrims walking the pilgrimage routes in Spain, France, and Portugal. With your host, guide and longtime pilgrim, Nancy Reynolds of the Camino Experience. Welcome back. I hope the week is rolling along nicely for you. Nancy here, putting the final touches on this episode of the podcast after a very full weekend. Today, you are going to meet Jarrett and Amy from Florida. They will be sharing how they have been preparing for their pilgrimage on the Camino Francés. They are the first couple I've had on the podcast, and I think you're going to enjoy their perspective. We will get to Jarrett and Amy in a moment. First, I want to get caught up on a few things. I've been reflecting on my 2025 goals after hitting another interim milestone on my weight loss goal. Weight loss always feels so good to me, but there is something deeper going on. As I continue to feel better in my body, I'm also feeling better about myself. Anybody know what that feels like? It's very exciting. I'm finding that my thoughts, about myself are more kind. And I feel free, I feel more free to share of myself with the people in my life and with you. I'm feeling like I can set bigger and bigger goals and that I will absolutely achieve them. And then I remind myself that I have several other big goals already in play for this year. For example, my goal to serve 5,000 pilgrims in 2025 is humming along, with this podcast being downloaded more than 15,000 times in the past month. That's a 16% increase in downloads over the previous month. If you have shared this podcast on social media or with your friends, thank you. Please keep doing that. And if you haven't shared it, please do. I've said this before. I think now is the perfect time for people to discover the gift of the Camino experience, so we can bring that Camino spirit back into our families, circles of friends, and communities. Now, how about you? Are you writing down your goals every day, morning and night? I'm telling you, this stuff works. Another thing that happened this weekend is that I had coffee with my longtime friend Linda, who was one of the first people I shared my Camino experience idea with way back in 2012. I remember how excited I was back then at the idea of helping pilgrims get started on their pilgrimages. I'd been walking the Camino myself for 7 years at that point, and I'd been noticing that the most daunting part of walking the Camino is getting started. At the same time, I noticed that I had already started the Camino 6 or so times, and I was getting good at it. Linda was so supportive, and that made such a huge difference in my confidence going after my dream. Who is supporting you in going after your dreams? Who is your champion for your goal to walk the Camino? Well, I'll tell you that you can always count on me to be cheering for you. I believe you can do this. Who else is cheering for you? Let's find those people. Let's connect with them. And let's support each other in tapping into the spirit of the Camino. One of the ways to connect with other pilgrims is by gathering together online. Last Thursday, I hosted a spring pilgrim send-off for the people on my email list. We had around 35 first-time pilgrims join the call, along with about 5 people who have already walked at least one pilgrimage. This call completely made my week. To be able to sit with, as best we can online, a group of people who are getting ready to walk bravely out into the unknown, to maybe change their lives forever. Wow, such courage. We talked about what it means to be a true pilgrim and how important it is to document or record your story as you are making your journey. Why is that so important? Well, so you can tell your story when you get home. This is one of the biggest challenges returning pilgrims face, by the way. how to tell the story of their journey, what to tell, how to tell it, and to whom do you tell it? How do you take this immersive experience and talk about it or write about it? A few episodes back, I shared with you that my focus for this year is on what we do after we walk the Camino. Well, it turns out there are things we can do before and during our pilgrimages to support us in coming home. Deciding how to record our stories is one of those things. The week prior to the send-off call, I hosted another call with a core group of my podcast listeners. On that call, we talked about what you, need when you come home from the Camino. I wanted to hear from them, what challenges you face after the Camino, so we could come up with some ideas for how to address those challenges. Well, we have ideas. See, while the most daunting part of walking the Camino is getting started, the hardest part is coming home. If you've already walked the Camino, then you know what it's like to return home. You, as a new, reorganized pilgrim, landing in your old world. If you are getting ready to walk the Camino, then you have so much to look forward to, including that re-entry process. With the support of this core group from my podcast audience, I'm working on something for you. You'll be hearing about it in the coming weeks, and then I'm aiming to have it ready for you in midsummer, so stay tuned. Okay, there's one more thing I want to mention, something that happened this weekend. If you are in the U.S., then you probably know that rallies and protests took place around the country on Saturday, April 5th. Now, I'm not mentioning this to start a political debate, but rather to share my takeaway from the event I attended in Santa Rosa, California. This was my first political protest, and I am not big on crowds, so I spent my time there observing and taking it all in. These events gave millions of people a venue to stand up for what they believe in. It's more than that, though. Each person who carried a sign at one of these events had the opportunity to choose their message, to decide what their public statement would be. The power of this is extraordinary. When you make a sign, you have to commit to your message, and that is empowering. It's like choosing a bumper sticker for your car. It's like grabbing a bullhorn and loudly announcing your opinion. So what intrigued me the most about the event I attended was the clarity of the messages and the thought that went into creating them. Many of the signs proclaimed what the person holding it was against. For example, the actions of the current administration, the individual players themselves, the tone of the rhetoric. Other signs stated what the person was for: kindness, peace, sanity, justice, liberty, or each person's ability to make a difference. It reminded me that in every moment I have a choice in what message I send. Do I want to talk about what I'm against, or do I want to talk about what I am for? I'm choosing the latter. I am for kindness, peace, sanity, justice, liberty, and each person's ability to make a difference. I am for Camino spirit and Camino magic, not just on the trail, but in our lives, our families, and our communities. That is the backbone of my goal to serve, help, guide, and support 5,000 plus pilgrims in 2025. Hey, if we don't agree, that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything to be kind to one another and to make a positive difference in the world. We just have to be clear on our message. Speaking of messages, my guests today, Jarrett and Amy, have a message for any of you who are planning to walk the Camino as a couple. They also have some things to say about how they prepared and put together their plans. Specifically, Jarrett and Amy used my Camino Francés Getting Started audio guide to plan their trip, so I need to give you a quick update on that. I am in the process of doing a remodel on the audio guide, starting with renaming it to better reflect what it really is. I will publicly unveil the new name soon, but for now, I wanted to let you know that I will be having a promotion on the audio guide sometime around the end of April. If you'd like to get on the waiting list for that promo, you can go to my website, specifically go to thecaminoexperience.com/promo to let me know you're interested. The link is also in the show notes. In the meantime, listen in and Jarrett and Amy will share with you why they love the audio guide, among a lot of other things. Here we go. Jarrett and Amy, hi. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be here. So thanks for having us.
Yeah.
I have to say firsthand that we found your podcast pretty quickly and really raced through listening to all of the valuable information. It's like having your best friend right next to you, telling you all the details. So it's been great.
Our kids were like, oh my God, do we have to listen to another episode? Because we were like on a road trip or somewhere. Where were we going? Like up to North Carolina. And they're like, seriously, we're going to listen to 6 hours of this? I was like, yeah,
maybe 12 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. First, I love that I got to go on a road trip with you guys, but please give my apologies to the kids.
And this is before we ever met you. So we were like, wonder what she looks like. Right? We were like trying to picture what she looked like, but the kids were just like, okay, we've had enough.
Well, I can kind of understand that given the topic, right? You're either in it or you're not.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah. Like I was telling you earlier, it's like Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is you'd never talk about Fight Club. But the first rule of Camino is you always talk about Camino. Right. And so they're like really sick of us talking about it.
Oh man. Are they ready for you to just go, get this thing going?
Well, we have 4 kids. And so the oldest are 27 and 30. And they're actually kind of like, well, where are you starting? Where are you going? And they're looking at the town. They've been looking at, sorry, butcher the name, but Saint Jean. And so they've been looking there. Maybe I want to go there. I'm like,
Are they going to crash your party?
Not this one, but it's really funny from this side of it. We already talk about, well, when are we going to do our second Camino?
Oh my
gosh. Where are we going to go? And so who knows what will happen. But on this side of it, we're so excited. And we've pretty much, been talking about it nonstop. And even with our children, I think they are starting to kind of have their interest piqued.
Okay.
From what I hear from people that have walked the Camino and how it can really center you or change you in a good way, I just in my head am thinking, I can't wait for us and see what happens. But also the younger you can get out there, like in your mid-20s, like how cool would that be?
Yeah. Imagine a whole generation having that transformation or having that perspective or that sense of global community. It probably would influence how we interact with each other.
Definitely.
I will put an asterisk behind that. They're not joining us on the Camino. However, 2 of them are meeting us in Europe right afterwards. And we're going to stay in Europe, Paris. And we've actually not decided about the other half. But because I work remotely, we're going to take advantage of it. And I'm just not going to tell anybody that I'm working from Europe. And they're going to go play all day and I'm going to work. And then at night we'll go out and have a steak or wander around a castle or whatever. We'll figure it out.
Sounds great. Well, since we're already talking about the end of your trip, why don't we go ahead and get the pen and the map? And I'll ask you to lay out your big picture Camino plan. What do you have planned for this?
So I'll answer this one. I still have a job, so I can't take off the time I really want to take off. So we only have 21 days, give or take. So we're going to take 24 days, but 21 days on trail. We're going to start in Saint Jean. We're going to walk to Pamplona. We're going to catch a train from Pamplona to Lyon and then go from Lyon to the end. And everyone that we have talked to, literally almost everyone, has said, you need to take your time. So we're flying into Paris. We're going to spend a day-ish, maybe 2 in Paris. Then we're going to go to Saint Jean and we're going to spend and I don't say it nearly as French as you do, but we're going to go to Saint Jean. We're going to spend 2 days there. And then the first day, we're only hiking to Borda. So we're going to stop in Borda. And so we're taking an extra day to get to Pamplona, mainly because we want to take our time and really kind of enjoy it.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to just interject with that only going to Borda. I don't know if you've looked at the elevation chart or not,
Yeah.
but it is, there's nothing only about that first hike up to either Refuge Orison or Borda. It's pretty darn steep in places.
I know it's a beast.
Well, and also when it says only 21 days, if you tell that to somebody outside of Camino talk, only 21 days in Europe, what are you talking about?
You're hiking for 21 straight days. Yes,
well,
we
just
are.
Getting to go for 3 weeks.
That's a two-parter, isn't it? How many Americans have the luxury of a 3-week trip to Europe? And you're going for much longer. But then how many people do you know in your circle who have ever hiked for 3 weeks solid?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love to just not use the word only.
Right.
Because
sometimes not a good word.
I mean, you're welcome to. Don't get me wrong. You're welcome to use the word.
Yeah, people's reactions are like, you're only going for 3 weeks? I think that's a lot. I'm like, oh, I think that you are right.
Yeah.
But speaking of our circle, my best friend since I was 6 years old, we actually now happen to live in the same town.
Again.
So that part's awesome. But she walked a Camino with her husband in 2017. And she was like, I'm walking the Camino. And I think at the time we actually hadn't moved back. We didn't live here. And I was like, oh, how fun. That sounds great. That was it. No other thought about it. I was like, I don't want to walk for 3 weeks in Europe. That sounds terrible to me.
And so many people have that reaction right out of the gate.
And so it's funny. We've really been talking like, how did we get here to where now it's all we talk about? And we listen to your podcast on repeat all the time. And so it's really been interesting. I actually started scrolling back through my phone and our messages because I think it was in March of last year, I met my daughter in Chicago and we walked a ton. And I love, like, we've been able to visit New York City, love walking there. And I come home and then I don't walk anymore. And I'm like, that's silly. I should keep walking because I actually enjoy it. So we started walking, and we're really within 3 weeks, we somehow threw out the Camino and let's go do the Camino. And everything just took off from there. And I can remember asking Jarrett, I was like, this is so weird. Like, do people get called to the Camino? Is that a thing? And we hadn't found your podcast at that point. I don't think we found your podcast until maybe June, in summer.
Yeah, it is a thing.
Yeah, I'm finding out. And I was like, it's a thing. Listen.
It's a big thing.
So I was talking about my friend. So she had already walked one, and she has walked maybe 2 or 3 more, but they've been what she's called failed Caminos. Her husband was recently diagnosed with Parkinson's. Oh. And so we started talking, hey, we're going to do one. This is going to be so much fun. And then we started talking and said, what if we say, hey, y'all want to walk? I wonder if that would help. Would it be helpful to John for us to be there? And so we just kind of mentioned it, and we were like, oh, we'd love to have you join us. I don't know if y'all are up for it, but let's see what happens. And so we're now kind of all on board, and we've all gotten our, we're trying to stay in private rooms, I guess is what you would call it, in the Albergues, but private. And so she's booked her entire Camino, and we're all hoping. And so we'll see. Maybe they get to walk just to Pamplona with us, and then they'll keep going if he feels strong enough, or I don't know. So we're hopeful to see what happens.
So this is no longer just the two of you. This is your friends who are going to start with you, go as far as Pamplona, and then see what happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the plan. And he is actually very excited because he was worried, about his wife and, okay, if something happens to me, it's just you. And the last time, the Camino family, you always say the Camino provides, but, somebody carried his bag, and he was, they were coming from Orison into Roncesvalles. And I guess they got to the right his life and left his death, split. And they took the right way, and it still took him, that last kilometer still took, 3-4 hours?
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
because of his depth perception.
I'm going to go on record here and say the path to the right, which they say right is life, the path to the right is steep. The path to the left is very steep. And so no matter how you do it, if you're not prepared for a descent that is going to last up to 2 hours, it's going to be painful and difficult. It's about, depending on which path you take, I think it's either 3.5 or 4.5 kilometers, give or take. And if you're going sideways, step by step down the steep part, that's going to take you some time.
Yeah. I think I listened to one of your episodes that you said, I want to say it's going into Zubiri, where there's maybe like a little coffee shop or something you can call for a taxi. So that's kind of talked about. Like, I'm like, if my legs are already shot, for sure, I have no problem taking a taxi. So kind of we've come into it a little bit differently, I feel like, as well, because we knew that we weren't going to be able to walk the whole thing. So we're only walking we're walking 3 weeks, which is amazing. And I can't wait. But I've also been in physical therapy for some hip and back issues. And so we decided pretty early on that we're going to use the luggage transport and that we'll carry what we need on the trail, as far as water and, medical supplies, if that.
First aid kit, blister care, foot care. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Waterproofs, layer for warmth, flip-flops.
Extra pair of socks or two. Well, people don't realize is if you have like a camelback or the bladder, but people don't realize how much 3 liters of water weighs.
Yes, water is very heavy. How much does 3 liters of water weigh?
Each liter is around 2.5 pounds.
Okay, so it adds up quickly. So the good news about that is there aren't that many times when you need to carry 3 liters. Actually, I would be surprised if you ever had to carry more than 1 to 1.5. With the one exception, the walk over the Pyrenees, you want to err on the side of caution and have enough for the whole thing.
I always want to carry 3 liters just because if somebody else needs water, I'll have it. Right.
There. Okay, there we go. There's a pilgrim spirit happening.
I actually, because I've traveled a lot in my life before, I've been to 78 countries. I've been to everywhere I've ever wanted to go to, except for Israel and Ireland. But I've always over prepared so that no matter what, if I get myself in a lot of trouble, I'll be prepared. Like I'll always have 100 euros tucked in something somewhere so I can get myself out of a jam. I always carry extra water. And
okay, well that brings us on to the other thing. I am directionally challenged.
Oh yeah.
And the audio guide, I just listened to that part and I was like, that is for real. I do. When I walk out of a hotel room, 100% go the wrong way. If we're ever in a car,
and I just laugh.
He tries to let me figure it out, and then I'm like, "Oh, I went the wrong way." Sorry.
Yeah, it is. It is so real. It is so real. And so when you hear people say, "No, just follow the yellow arrows. You can't get lost." Oh, yes, you can.
But I love the tip that you said: put some money somewhere in your pockets if you do need a taxi. But also, if your shoes are bothering you or something else, just don't stop until you get to the arrow sign, and then
That's
stop.
right.
Whatever you need. Then you know which way to go. And that to me is like a good tip because we've hiked before and you'll just stop and then I'll be like, wait.
Which way was I going?
Pro tip, by the way, if you take
very good
2 50-euro notes or 420s or whatever, and you fold them up and you put them underneath the cushion in your shoe, stinky money spends just as well as not stinky money. And you'll never lose it because you're wearing your shoes all the time.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw a wrench in that one. It happens that shoes go missing on the Camino, that people grab the wrong pair of shoes. Now I want to grab your shoes by mistake.
Well, okay, if you're taking your shoes off, yeah,
take your money out.
Take your money out.
But, yeah, there you go. There you go.
I mean, I will say that I've never done anything like the Camino where you leave your shoes at the front door and you go in. And so I've never had to do that. I've always had to, I've always had the same pair. I've never hiked 21 straight days before.
Yeah, so it's a big thing.
I think the longest I've ever done is 4 on the Appalachian Trail when I was in college. But this is crazy.
Yeah, this is crazy. All right. So the way that you've structured your trip, you're going from Saint Jean to Pamplona, then you're jumping ahead to Leon, and then going Leon to Santiago. So that could have been broken up a number of different ways. What made you skip Pamplona to Leon so that you get to Santiago? What's the thinking behind that strategy?
That took a while. And honestly, that's when I was like, I wish I knew Nancy. I would ask for her advice. But ultimately, I was trying to piece in like where I thought would be so cool to see or what experience we were trying to gain. And ultimately, what I came up with was we want to be on the trail for as long as possible, uninterrupted.
Okay.
So we both wanted to walk the Pyrenees.
Okay.
Bucket list.
So both of us were like, we're walking the Pyrenees. Okay, then how do we get to the end in this amount of time? And so what we did is we just kind of backed up from Santiago as far as our dates would let us go. And Leon just seemed to...
Well, the logistics to get from Pamplona to Leon are a lot easier than some of the other towns.
Way easier. Yeah. You get on the train and a little while later you're in Leon. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Perfect.
Exactly. So our only rest day that we have planned was we're going to walk into Pamplona. We're going to have pinchos with a friend of ours, which is you.
It's me.
Pamplona.
It is. Yeah.
And then we're going to get on the train around noon the next day, go to Leon, putz around in Leon for a half a day, and then walk out the next day. So that is our rest day.
Great.
Is eating a large train snack on the way to Leon.
Okay, perfect. So part of the equation then was deciding that it was important to you to walk into Santiago. What is the significance of Santiago for you?
Well, for me, two things. One, it was before the rule change. There's a rule change now where, in order to get your Compostela, all you have to do is, I think, 100 kilometers, and it can be any 100 kilometers.
Any 100 kilometers, yes. On one route, all together, chronologically and geographically, yes. Plus the final stage into Santiago. And the best understanding I have so far is that is from O Pedroso. You have to walk that last 20 kilometers. Now, I haven't had that nailed down. Could be the last 10 kilometers for all I know, but you'll get clarification when you get there.
So we it's not that we are really wanting our Compostela. That is a bonus, but the fact that we will generate or find our Camino family because we're moving along in one long piece, it did worry us a little bit that we would walk up over the Pyrenees, and then all of a sudden the people that we walked up and over the Pyrenees and all the way to Pamplona, which is 5 days, right? I mean, you're talking to somebody for 5 days, you got to know them pretty well, and then all of a sudden you won't see them again. And we didn't really like that, but you do what you got to do. And so we're like, okay, how do we chunk this last piece so that we are continuing and not going a couple days, skipping ahead, going a couple days, skipping ahead, right? We didn't want to do that. So we wanted it in big chunks. As far as what does it mean for us, the finishing piece means a lot. Going to the church and finishing there means a lot. The Compostela means a lot to me, but if I didn't get it, it wouldn't make a difference to me.
Okay.
But I think walking into town and sitting there watching other pilgrims coming in and celebrating with them is a big deal for us.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it signifies for me completion. Even though I'm not getting to do the whole Francés route, I'm getting to do my Camino. Mm-hmm. And when we talked about breaking it up, I was like, oh, for sure, we have to finish in Santiago. Like that is like the culmination of everything. It was never a question. But the way that we have it planned out is that we're staying in, I want to say it's called Lava Cola the night before.
Yeah.
The short walk in. And we kind of did that on purpose because we want to walk and not be so exhausted. Like we've talked about what's it going to feel like? What are we going to do when we get to Santiago? And we're just so excited to get there, celebrate with each other, and then sit down and just watch everybody else come in. Or
Yeah.
my kids have already picked up one of the number one habits from Jarrett. Every trip we go on, if he sees a family, like the dad's taking the picture of the mom and the kids, or if somebody's doing a selfie, he jumps right in every time. Can I take your picture? So I know he'll be probably pretty busy that day taking pictures of everybody.
Because, there's always somebody missing from your family
Right.
picture.
That's right. That's right. And that actually will be a wonderful gift you give to people.
So I just think, it's going to be great.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So I'd love to hear now a bit about what it's been like for you to plan this trip as a couple. So you've got two people that you're negotiating and thinking about and taking care of everybody's needs and wants. How has that experience been for you? And what kind of challenges have you come across?
I think personally,
They look at each other lovingly.
I looked at you, you looked at me. There were only three things I said in the beginning. We have to do the Pyrenees. We have to do Ponferrada because I want to see the Knights Templar, and we got to finish. Other than that, I've really, and we got to drink copious amounts of wine because I love red wine. I'm a red wine drinker. So, and nobody in my family drinks wines. So I'm just going to take advantage of it. But what we did is we just basically, we set out a couple of things that we each wanted to do. And like, I think yours was you wanted to do Orison. Right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that first day I wanted to make sure we're breaking up. So
Okay.
That long walk.
Right. So we each picked a couple things, and then we started to basically narrow it down from there. And then we got to the point where we were trying so hard to shoe in like Borda and all these other things that's when we made Burgos. Yeah. Sorry. That we basically made the decision, okay, once we get over the Pyrenees to Pamplona, we're just going to go Santiago backwards, and we're not going to try to overcomplicate things.
Okay.
And then everything else got a little easier.
Okay.
And we weren't really sure about when we were going to go. We knew we had a 2-week window when we thought we were going to start. And it was 11:30 at night. And I have every night I was like flipping my thing open and checking for spots in Orison and Borda. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, Amy, it's open. And so I booked Borda right then and there. I was like, okay, we got a room. So now we have a start date. And then everything kind of just dominoed from there.
I love it.
I think the way that it was planned is really an example of actually our marriage. He's very generous. He's very kind. That whole, I want to take pictures for people. That's just him. In fact, my friend that's been on the Camino is like, you should do it. You're going to love it. Jarrett's going to love it because he's going to meet everybody, talk to everybody. And that's just him. And then she's like, for the history and the beauty. And so that's my part. I'm a little bit more quiet usually. He's the one that's usually more outgoing. And so with the planning part, he really was like, I want to do the Pyrenees and I want to end in Santiago. Call your friend and let's see what y'all can put together.
And Ponferrada.
So I called my friend and we had planning nights and she came over, and my whole thing was, I've already got tendonitis. So trying to work with that. And so I was like, with my back and my hip and all that other stuff, I'm like, let's try to average about 12 miles a day. And so we just kind of broke it up from there.
Great. Yeah. And if you know how far you want to walk each day, it's fairly easy to estimate how long this thing's going to take. It's some pretty simple math. And I say that as someone who doesn't do math. So if I can do it, you can do it. Let me ask you a question about wine. Do you know the Spanish wines? Have you done any research or tastings of Spanish wines?
I have, yes. I've been to Spain. I would go to Spain about twice a year for about 6 years. And but I was in mostly Barcelona and Madrid and a couple places around there. They're not my favorite wines, I will tell you that. I'm a big Argentinian Malbec, very dry, very, when you finish drinking your glass of wine, you're still thirsty kind of thing.
Okay, so do you have any tips on picking out Spanish wines?
Do I have any tips? I do. If it is something that A is the house wine. It's usually the house wine for a reason, usually local, and it's usually something that everybody likes, right? Because if it wasn't, that wouldn't be the house wine. It's like a Chianti in Italy, right? So always try the house wine first. You
Okay.
don't have to spend a lot of money to drink good wine in Spain. I think you would agree, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm actually going to put a twist on that because what you might think of as the house wine is better than what often shows up at the pilgrim meals. So if you're getting a menu del peregrino, which is a pilgrim's menu, you will get red wine. But what you get is a joven wine, a young wine that hasn't been aged hardly at all. And they are not always the best. So my tip is if your budget allows for it, always do an upgrade. And so that could be as simple as just going to the bar or going to the shop next door and picking up a nicer bottle of wine, which you know is going to cost €6, €8, €10 max for a good bottle of wine in Spain. So that's my tip. As a baseline, I would start with a crianza. Are you familiar with the crianza?
I am, yes.
Yeah. So let me spell that for people listening. It's Crianza. And it just simply means it's been aged in an oak barrel, or I think also a metal tank, possibly, but for a while. And that makes a difference in the quality.
So I actually just bought 6 of those. That's what we were drinking last week. It was
Okay.
from Trader Joe's.
Woohoo. Yep. They do it. They do it. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. So anytime I'm at a table with anybody who actually knows or likes wine, I always just suggest, hey, how about we just go get something better from the bar?
So note for everyone that goes with Nancy, always let her pick out the wine.
And the irony is I don't really drink anymore. So
Oh, that's right. You did say that.
yeah. 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 Which is really a crime in Europe, or it's a crime in Spain along the Camino because alcohol is so unbelievably affordable that I almost get my FOMO kicked in because it's like, but I could be drinking for so little.
Yeah.
It's okay. My body likes it when I don't drink.
I get that.
Yeah. All right. So back to the question of putting this trip together as a couple. Have you come across any challenges as you're trying to put this trip together?
I could see other couples having a lot of issues. We've been married for 32 years now.
Going on 30, yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, we've been together for a while, so we know each other's strengths. My strength is logistics.
Okay.
Right? I'm the spreadsheet guy. I'm the budget guy. Right? I have my sheet that tells me everything from how many miles we're going to walk every day to the altitude to even the phases of the moon.
You found Go to Salco.
Yeah, I did. I did. So hers is more of the, okay, we need to see this and we should do, this and we'll string it together like this. Her weakness is the space-time continuum, realizing how long something is going to take. Right?
I'm with you. Yes, totally with you.
That is my strength, right? So,
Okay.
Take what you think it's going to be, always, multiply it times 2.5, and you're usually pretty good. So we have some strengths that we play to, and we've never had, the only disagreement that we had was I said we should stay in an albergue at least once or twice. And she's like, yeah, I'm too old for that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to hear anybody snore or burp in the middle of the night or get up in the middle of the night or come in drunk or whatever it is. She's like, no, I don't want to do that. And you know what? I'm not going to fight on that.
I told him he's free to go if you really
She's
want.
Like, you're free to go sleep in the albergue. I'll have the room to myself. That's fine.
But I've also noticed with age that if I don't get sleep, it's just everything's harder.
Yeah.
And so as hard as this trip is going to be, I knew that if we could afford to stay in a private room, then that's what I would want to look for. So once we, worked through our budget and we saw that, then we were like, okay, let's try to get these private rooms, as many as we could.
So, okay. So on average, it would have cost us somewhere between 14 and $16 a day to stay in an albergue, right?
For each person.
Right, for each person. So that puts us at around 30 euros to 40 euros.
30 to 40 per night, yeah.
Right. And so our average for our hotel, if you don't count the one that we have in Santiago, because we're bouging it up in Santiago, we're staying in a really bougie place right across from the church. But if you don't count that, our average is $72.
Okay.
That's nothing.
That's a Motel 6.
Yeah.
And it's totally worth it for the sleep you're going to get.
Yeah.
Right. Even though we did hear just recently that we need to change one of our hotels because we're on a main drag and on a Friday night and it's going to be loud until late.
Yeah.
And I think you were telling us that in Pamplona, our hotel is literally on the main Pincho Street and it's loud.
Yeah. And I want you to imagine this, right? So Pamplona, the center is the Plaza del Castillo. And from it, all these pedestrian streets radiate out. So they're not road streets. There's no car traffic, but they're narrow pedestrian streets filled with Pinchos bars. And at 7:00, the local people all come out and start enjoying their city. And then about 9, they go take a break and have dinner. And then they come back out to the bars. And on the weekends, there are people out all night long at these bars. And so there's no sleeping if you have a room overlooking one of these pedestrian streets.
That sounds great for somebody who likes to party, but I know I'll be asleep by 10:00.
Yeah, exactly.
So we might need to rethink that one.
Yeah.
If I'm up past 10:00, 10:30, after walking, how many miles are we walking that day? We're walking
22 kilometers probably. Are you coming from Dubarry?
Yes, we are 20.7 kilometers unless we take the little variant, and then it's 22.
Yeah. So you will want to sleep. That'll be after 4 hard days on the trail, the initiating hard days on the trail. So you mentioned, you were talking about that spreadsheet that you put together, and you mentioned, and we mentioned, go to Salco. Did you have a question or comment about that tool?
No, the website is awesome, and it took me a couple times to get used to how it formulates everything. But my question for you is, we are in Osaprero on a 0 moon night, right? So there's no moon.
Okay.
Right. And I know that Osaprero is one of the highest places on the Camino.
Close to, yeah.
Right. So is this like a Milky Way kind of thing? Am I going to be able to see like just a ton of stars?
Well, gosh, that depends on the cloud cover, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know, rain, cloud cover. But if it is a clear night, is it just gorgeous?
It is gorgeous. Yeah. You have lots of stars. Yeah. It is often overcast though, cloud cover, just because of the weather conditions.
I actually shifted everything by about 6 miles so that we would be at Osabrero on an empty moon night.
The top tip on Osabrero is to get up early enough to catch the sunrise coming from the direction you just walked.
That's good to know.
That's an extraordinary experience. Yeah.
That is good to know. Now we know that that's going to be a tough day because walking up and walking down is going to be. Everybody talks about the first set of mountains, but they don't usually talk about the other ones. And from the looks of the meters up and down, right? The altitude gain and loss. This one, the Osabrero, is bigger than the altitude. Looks like it's more that you go up and back down.
It is. It's not a lot more. And the main difference is it's not the relentless uphill climb of the Pyrenees. And the Pyrenees just keep going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. The climb up to Osabrero, you walk through some forest and then you break out to a vista and then you go through a couple small villages. So there's actually things that break it up so that psychologically it's not quite as intimidating. And the other thing is, by the time you get to Osabrero, you're pretty darn strong because that's your third mountain range. So yeah, so you're okay, we're just going up this mountain, no big deal, la la la. Yeah. So not like it's not a mountain and not like it's not hard, but you're stronger by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So the Go to Salco, I just want to mention it. for my listeners, it's a tool where you pop in your starting point and your ending point. So let's say Saint Jean to Santiago, and then it gives you the ability to plan all your stages based on how far you want to walk each day, which is just, I mean, get ready to lose a day to that because you could come up with 100 different scenarios. And then it prints for you an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, what kind of magic is that? It's pretty cool.
What we did is I took that, and then I added a couple extra columns, one for my budget for food, one for my budget for the hotel. And then I have a link in the third one. It's a link, takes me straight to my reservation. So now on my phone, I have this file that has everything I need. And if I need to call them, I just click on the little link in the spreadsheet and it takes me to WhatsApp and opens it up. And then I can just start chatting with them.
Fabulous.
And so you can definitely lose some time on this.
Yeah.
The really cool thing is we learned, you learn, I'm looking at it and I know that my day coming out of Leon is going to be 33 kilometers.
Whew.
Right? Because we're going from Leon to Puente Obligado.
Orbigo.
This is why I'm so good at Spanish. But it's 33 kilometers. And then we did find out that walk out of Leon is tough. It's like industrial, and it's so if we take the bus out, then it chops 8 off. It's much more doable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it does allow you to really see the numbers and we've been walking a while and training, so we kind of know what we can and cannot do. Of course, we could get out there and it'd be completely different. We know that.
Yeah.
But it does allow you to visually kind of see.
Yeah. It's a great tool.
It is. And it definitely shows you, oh, there's a lot of altitude gain on this day. And we're throwing 20 kilometers at it. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them are big days for sure. Yeah. And a lot of people do take the bus from the center of Leon and they take it to Virgen del Camino. And that chops off all of that industrial, tedious part and places you right at the edge before you head off sort of into the more rural area, heading towards Hospital de Orbigo. Now, if you are anyone listening is someone who wants to walk every step, disregard this advice because pilgrimage is a journey through everything, right? It's a journey through the good, the bad, the ugly. And this just happens to be one of the ugly bits.
Right.
But if you are short on time or if you have to cut out something, it's a good choice to cut this one out.
Yeah, that's where we kind of felt we could use that time and maybe use it to help us get a little bit more in so that we could finish it from Leon to Santiago. And when we heard that bit, we were like, okay, we're not walking everything. So let's just,
Yeah, it's just an easy, elegant solution. Yeah, Euro 50, Euro 60 each, hop on the bus, boom, there you go. Have a nice trip. Yeah, good. Very good. And then you're rewarded with Hospital de Orbigo. Is that where you're going? Hospital de Orbigo?
No, Puente de Orbigo.
Okay, that's the bridge right before the town of Hospital de Orbigo.
Okay.
One thing to consider is you might want to check out how much farther it would be to go to Hospital de Orbigo and see if that might be a good choice for you.
All right, we will.
Yeah, very good. So we've talked about a lot of logistics and how you put this trip together. Have you had conversations about what you want to get out of this experience as a couple or as individuals?
I know, and we both have talked about this ad nauseum. We're training a lot, so we spend a lot of time walking and talking, and we both want to use this to get closer to each other. We've been raising kids for 30 years.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
It's time for us to spend a little time kind of focused on each other. And it's not like we don't spend time together, but no phone, no computer. We're walking, we're talking, we're eating, and we're sleeping. And we haven't had the time to really spend like that in a really long time. Even on vacations, we're always thinking about our kids, and right, because they're always with us. So that's one thing. The other thing is we really want to use this time in prayer to basically get closer to God. We actually have found a really cool Bible study that is, it's a very thin notebook where the left side of the page is the book of James and the right side of the page is questions and blank space where you can write and stuff. So those are the two things that I personally want to get out of it, is to be closer to my wife and to be closer to God. We also have already gotten out of it, or gotten rid of, over 150 pounds of weight. We've lost so much weight training for this.
No kidding.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So now we're having more fun because we can walk farther and faster. And now we do train in Florida, so there's no hills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we have to, sometimes we have to do treadmills and stuff like that. But we're just having fun together. And already we're not even on the trail. What would you add?
I love it.
I was going to say, I think it's been great because our kids are split in ages. We have 30 years old all the way down to 19 years old. And so we have been kid focused for a long time. And our youngest one just went to college this past year. So it's been really nice that we've been able to spend a lot of time together, get up and walk together. And I mean, because those years before, we were lucky to get 5 minutes without a child coming in and, hey, mom, hey, dad. Or
Yeah.
it's been nice to be able to reconnect. And now that we're going to get to take that trip and just spend it together, and, quite possibly my friend and her husband be there. So a couple's trip in the beginning, maybe, but we're looking forward to it.
It's nice to actually be able to focus on my wife and not have to think about, I will say, it's going to be hard for me to not just want to take care of her.
Okay.
Right? Because that is what I've done with the kids. I'm a logistics guy. I get us from point A to point B. I don't have to do that on this trip. And that is something I will have to battle.
That's his struggle. Like, he feels like he has to be in charge and get people. I don't mean that in a negative sense, but that ownership of, like, I'm caring for my family. We lived in China for a little bit. And I remember he was there on business outside of our city. So I flew, we were in Beijing, and I had the kids, and we're on a rickshaw, and I'm directionally challenged. And so I'm getting a text like, where are you? And I was like, rest assured, I know I'm in another country, but I can care for my children. We're fine, and we will be there.
I just worry about them.
And so I think he's just always he is logistics and always has that going on in his head. So
Yeah. So how will you manage that or communicate between yourselves on the trail, Amy, so that you get what you came for as well?
Right.
She also wants, she haven't said this yet, but she wants 5 minutes peace without me talking to her too. So we'll have days where we walk separately, we'll have days where we walk together, because you get to, and you've said this a million times, you get to think.
Yeah.
And I don't know about everybody else, but during an average day, besides thinking about work, I don't really have time to just think and calm everything out of my mind except for me or what I need to focus on, which might be Bible study or my wife or whatever. So I am really looking forward to that. But that is the struggle that I have, because I'm a multitasker and I'm always thinking about something, trying to solve some problem. And so that is, I know I'm going to struggle. I've already decided that I am going to write on the inside of my wrist, take a breath, or you don't need to fix that, or something. I'll have to figure out something so that I can remind myself not to try to fix the little things that might come up, like, oh, my backpack is slipping off my back. I don't need to fix that for her, right? I don't need to go up there and adjust it for her, right? She's a grown woman. She can do it herself. But with the kids,
capable.
With the kids, you're always like, oh, you're trying to help them out. And then, so now I have to just, that will be probably my second biggest challenge on this entire thing. He
has said this the whole time we've been talking about the Camino, like, what are you going to get out of it? And he started saying this, and I'm like, I don't think I understand kind of where your brain is going with that. And then he said, because he's going to have to work a little bit. Well, what do I need to do with my computer? And he literally said, maybe I'll just carry it on my back. And I was like, oh, please don't do that. So trying to just separate from all the noise and all the busyness, because his brain works probably 4 times faster than mine. He's always kind of teased me for being single threaded. Like, I focus on something and we go and we do this and then next go and do it. Whereas he can definitely like weave in and out and get things done.
It sounds like you complement each other.
I hope so.
I will say this, and not to plug Nancy too hard, but
Go ahead and plug her.
I'm going to plug her. Your audio guides helped me get past a lot of the stuff that I would normally have to do all this research to find out, like SIM cards. You don't want to pay $25 to make a phone call, right? So you have a section in your audio guides on eSIMs. And the last time I traveled, I had a SIM card, physical SIM card. You pop out, you put it in, right? Your audio guides have helped us with all kinds of little things like that literally would have taken us hours to do the research and figure out by ourselves, like the eSIM card, or, oh, we need to get a train ticket from Paris to Saint-Jean. Your audio guide is like, go here, click this, do this. And you're like, oh my God, I love this.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's like having your best friend that's been doing this trip
sitting next to you, helping you,
planning your trip, so that you're going to get all the good spots. Like I mentioned earlier, I love New York City. And so it's so cool when you are friends with somebody from New York City, because like, hey, come here, that place isn't that great, go to this one. And that's what I feel like we're getting that knowledge from the guy.
That is exactly how I intended it to come across, because, I have been leading groups since I think 2013. And at some point I said, how do I reach more people? Because I can't take everybody on the trail and give them all this information one-on-one. How do I do it so that everybody can benefit? And so what I did was I just took, this is what I do with my groups. Here it is, everything that's in my head into the audio guide. So it is like having me as your personal guide.
Yeah, it is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, there is nothing that.
So for those of you that are listening, that are overwhelmed by all the variables, and when she says, or when anybody says it's your Camino, which means nothing is ever repeatable by any person, right? They're all going to fit together differently every single time. Like ours, we're skipping that middle part.
Yeah.
Save yourself the headache and the time and try the audio guide. Even just listen to the samples. Once you listen to the samples, you'll be like, okay, yeah, this is going to save me hundreds of hours of time. And so we can't say enough positive things about the audio guides. We've recommended them to everybody that we've talked to, which we talked to,
everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that why the guy at the post office called me?
Yeah, actually, we were walking 2 days ago. We were walking down. We have a greenway here, and we were walking down the greenway, and we saw a lady with poles and a backpack. And I'm like, "You're getting ready to go on the Camino?" She's like, "Yeah." Where was she from?
She was from Argentina.
And she was like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to go on my 9th Camino or 7th Camino," and she's doing the Primitivo. And so, of course, we're talking and walking with her. It was just awesome. But
I mean, we live in a I feel like tiny town. It's a very small town, but it's a tourist town. And the day after we made our decision and said, let's walk this Camino, we're out for one of our very first walks together. And there's a guy, and he has a shell on his backpack. And we're like, get out of here. And so we stopped him and talked to him. He goes, yeah. And we've never seen him again. We don't know his name, but he's supposedly going this May, him and his wife, on the Camino, because we met him that day. We're like, this is crazy. So
you might see him over there. But that's the way the brain works. As soon as something is planted in your brain, I want this, you start to see signs of it everywhere. That's how the brain works. So cool.
Yeah. So the audio guide is a big check mark for us.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. It's such a validation for me to hear from people who are using the guide that it actually works the way I intended it to. So thank you for that feedback.
I feel like it would be like a labor of love. I mean, if you look at the audio guide, because there's things to look at as well, it's a lot of information. And I know that had to take a lot of time, and it's so well thought out, so well organized.
Thank you. Have you gotten to the On the Trail guide yet? The second big part.
I think so. Is that where there's a little tour, audio tour of Saint Jean?
Yeah.
That one, yes.
Yeah. And it's got all the sections on how to prepare for a day on the Camino, how to prepare for the 2 days over the Pyrenees, what to expect when you get to each of your places. Yeah. And then the second part of that is for when you're approaching Santiago, because what we know is the Camino is not complete when you reach Santiago. You've got to bring this thing home. And so that final part of the On the Trail guide is going to take you. I suggest you listen to it when you get to Osabrero, start listening. It'll take you the final stretch. It'll get you address your time in Santiago. And then it's got content for you to bring this thing home.
That's awesome.
That's actually why we're staying in Lavacola, is because we read something about how the pilgrims used to stop in Lavacola for the night, get clean, and get ready to walk that last little bit into Santiago. So that's why we stayed in Lavacola, because we want to get in before everybody else does, so that we can watch them come in.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fun.
And B, we want to be able to come in and not just be dead dog tired.
Yeah.
Right? So that was also in your audio guide, by the way.
Yeah. Santiago is amazing. It's such a beautiful city, and it's got such an incredible buzz. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we get to your questions?
No, not really. I don't think so. No.
All right. Let me have your questions then.
Okay, so I have questions that I feel like might seem silly, but I'm going to ask them anyway. So because of my knee and my hip kind of things, I started wearing Hoka's just nonstop. I did a quick Google search, and they were recommended for On the Trail. And so that's the brand I wear. They're awesome. But literally when I get out of bed in the morning, they're on my feet. So I've read that, I can't even walk barefoot in my own home right now. So I've read that when you get to your albergue, you're going to take them off and put them up somewhere. So I'm like, if I have just a second pair of Hoka's that aren't dirty, am I going to be able to wear those? Or do you have a recommendation? I think Hoka makes like a recovery flip-flop, but.
Can you wear shoes inside the albergue if they're clean?
Gotcha. So the reason that boots and shoes are collected when you go into the facility is to keep them out of the dorm rooms. And there are two reasons why they want them out of the dorm room. One is they are covered in dirt, usually from the trail. The other is they don't smell so good. And so you get more than one pair of pilgrim boots or shoes in a shared dorm room, it's not going to be a nice place. It's not going to smell good. So that's why they collect them and keep them at the front. I use Crocs as my second shoe. So the moment my boots come off, my Crocs go on.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just, they don't want the shoes that have been on the trail inside the dorm rooms.
Makes sense. So in private rooms, have you ever had the experience where you would need to bring your own, little packable towel or blanket, or are they usually like a hotel room almost?
Yeah. Private rooms always provide the linens, sheets, blankets, and towels.
Okay.
The only reason that I carry a pack towel, I don't know if you're familiar, it's a microfiber towel that previously when I was staying in the shared dorms with the shared bathrooms, I would use as my towel. But now I bring it along so that if I do any laundry in the sink, I can roll it into that pack towel and wring out the extra water, because the pack towel is going to dry overnight so fast. Not even overnight, it dries super fast. So I clean out, it's usually undergarments, and I clean out in the sink and rinse them out and then roll them in that towel and wring out the water. That helps the item get dry faster because you get the water out of it. And it also, the towel dries super fast. So since you're transporting luggage, you may as well throw in, even if you just have one between the two of you, it will serve the purpose for wringing out the little daily laundry needs.
Okay, so we are definitely going to be having a communal meal at Borda, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
Are there any other albergues along the way that you would say, oh, you really should have a communal meal there?
Well, are you referring to albergues where you're staying, or albergues that'll be in the same town where you're staying?
Well, can you go to a communal meal if you're not staying there?
In some cases, yes, but usually no. There are a number of places along the way that have community meals. Are you already booked though? Or all your accommodations booked?
Pretty much. They're already
Remember
booked.
when I said in the middle of the night, the border thing came open, right?
Yeah.
Literally, I think I booked everything that night, all the way through.
Okay.
It was pretty quick within a week of getting it all done.
And so, yeah, I mean, we have all of our places and stuff, but we're only in.
But I think I'm changing Pamplona.
Yeah, we might have to change that. But I think, like, besides the Rio Arga in Zubiri, right? There's only a few albergues that we're in. There's most of them are peregrinos.
That's a pilgrim. Pellegrino is pilgrim. Pension?
A pension, sorry. Thank you very much. Most of them are pensions.
So back up to Zubiri. There's an albergue in Zubiri called El Palo de Avellano. I would go there for dinner. So as soon as you get checked into Rio Arga, walk around the corner to El Palo and tell them Nancy sent you.
Okay.
She does let people who are not staying there go to her dinner. Yeah, her name is Itziar. I think it's the best meal in town anyway. So yeah, so go to El Palo and ask if you can join their community dinner.
Okay.
And she'll have a sign out front with the general menu and cost out front.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you'll be in a room in the back with all the pilgrims. You'll be at a table of either table for 4, table for 8, table for 10, something like that. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a great meal.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to send me your list of places where you're staying, I can give you some feedback on places to eat.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, last question I have is, I don't know how to say it, the incense burner.
The Botufumero.
Yes.
Botufumero.
I don't know why, but I just really want to see that.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience.
So I came up with an idea and I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I was like, oops, sorry.
Why couldn't someone just say to other pilgrims, hey, because I know if somebody came up to me and said, I'm going to pay for this, do you want to join in and reserve it? But I haven't looked into how far out you have to reserve it. But that is something for sure. We are going to be getting in, I think, like June 2nd. So anybody that wants to reserve it with me.
Yeah.
I for sure am like, I want to collect enough money if there's other people that want to do it to reserve it.
So how do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
You go to the cathedral website and there's a place there where you can sign up to reserve it. The tricky part is I have heard that they don't tell you if it's already reserved.
Gotcha.
So they double book and they get, well, it's a church. That's fine, right? They're using the money for something good.
But I did hear that if you reserved it, they also like reserve rows for you to sit in. So where are they going to start?
I've heard that too. I've seen the front rows reserved for groups. Yeah.
It's 800 euros, right?
No, I think it's like 4. I think
550. I think it was around 500, 550. So what you would do is you would just collect enough people to make that financially worth your while.
Right.
Or, financially feasible, I should say.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then sign up to have it done and then be sure you're there. There are 3 or 4 masses in the church every day. So there are that many chances that you could catch it. And I think they guard the information fairly closely, but it might be worth stopping by the office of the Cathedral Museum to ask if they have any intel on that when you get there. Yeah.
Intel.
Good tip.
Intel. Wink, wink. Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground. I love hearing just the excitement and the energy and the passion with which you both have put this trip together. And I want you to know I'm going to be following along. I can't wait to see how it goes. And I know I'll catch you in Pamplona. So anyone who's listening who's going to be in Pamplona on May 16th, I'll be there. I'll take you all on a Pinchos crawl. Just make sure you send me an email so I know to tell you where to find us. And I should be careful, though. The last time I did that, do you remember Chad, who's been on the podcast a couple times?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he showed up with 17 people.
No, there's 2 of us. We're not telling anybody.
Okay, very good. Just us. So, yeah. So anyway, I'll look forward to meeting you in Pamplona, and hopefully we'll have you back on the show when you come back so you can tell us how it went.
Thank you, Nancy. And it's I have to just one last time thank you for all the hard work you've put in to make our Camino better and easier.
Thank you for that.
It's amazing.
Absolutely my
Thank
pleasure.
you so much for having us. It's just been so exciting to actually talk to you. And it's like celebrity status in our house. So it's been really fun. Thank you.
Thank you. It really is my pleasure to be part of your Camino journey. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Nancy. We can't wait to see you in Pamplona. Have a wonderful trip with your group.
Thank you. And you as well. You'll probably meet some of them on the trail. We'll look forward to connecting.
Okay.
Alrighty. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.